Have you been taken advantage of? Have you given, and not received anything in return? I know a lot of people who fall into this category. This is applicable across the board, and I will do future videos honing in on specific examples in specific genres. However, today I'm going to discuss some of the mistakes that we make in being too generous and also allowing people to take advantage of us. But in addition to that, some of the things that you need to do and put measures in place to ensure that this does not happen to you, or that, again, you'll be in a position where if you give and you don't receive, you're not putting yourself in an actionable position and it's even. And I think a lot of people fail to understand what that is. If I give time, attention, money, gifts without the expectation of anything, that's fine. But we need to make sure that there's no implication there, that there's no hidden agenda, there's no covert expectation. Because sometimes you guys would agree with me that in many cases we're generous or we help people. And although we might externally say, I don't expect anything in return, you know darn well, even though you're telling the person, you don't have to pay me back or whatever it is, that internally you're still expecting something in return. That's one example, right? But how about those of you who feel that social pressure or obligation, or you allow yourself to be manipulated? Case in point, a lot of people who follow me are in sales and in real estate. And many of you get taken advantage of like crazy. You'll have a customer beg and plead and ask you for a million things. They'll give you not an ounce of commitment or anything in return. You'll bend over backwards for them. And then what happens? You're disrespected. You're not taken serious. And then they end up working with somebody else. You were taken advantage of. Same thing happens in relationships. Same thing happens in personal matters. I mean, it's nuts. If I go outside and tell people, hey, I'm giving this away for free, and I have 100 of them, a swarm of people will come, grab it without even knowing what it is, and then I'm left with nothing and nobody cares. So we're playing a fine line here. And I think for many people, what I want to talk about today and discuss is merely a check that you can have to ensure that you're not hurting yourself or compromising yourself by being generous with people. There's been many occasions where I've been too nice with people, because this is where it becomes a problem, right? I can think over the last 10 years where I've let people live with me rent free. I've helped them out. I've opened up my door to them. I've given them free help. I've trained them for free. Hey, you can join my, coaching program for a month for free. Hey, you can do this with me for free. You can be a part of this event. I'll give you this for free, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I've lost count. And in every single case, looking back, I can probably think of 5 or 10 right off the top of my head. And none of those examples have those people come back and really shown that appreciation long term. But secondly, they themselves improved from that hookup or generosity. I'll say that again. In these instances, let's say I can think of an old friend, right? We'll call him Billy, even though it's not his name, because I don't want to call people out, right? I let Billy stay with me and live with me for free for a year. I paid for virtually everything. Food, right? He had come from being out of state, right? Getting back on his feet, figuring things out. We were friends. I said, you know what, bro? Stay with me. You have your dreams and aspirations. That's fine. Long story short, he got comfortable, wasn't really putting in much effort. I did everything that I could to help him. A year later, I have to set a date on me kicking him out of my place because he wasted a year, basically. He wasn't doing much. And it broke my heart. Because I knew, had I not hooked him up, he would have had to become more resourceful, figure it out, and in that timeline of his life, he would have gotten farther ahead. But because I made it easy for him, again, out of the generosity and kindness out of my heart and the ability that I could, because I was making good money. And at the time, I remember at the peak of that, I had a small 3-bedroom house. I had 2 other people living with me. I had my own room and everything, but I wasn't like balling yet. But I said, hey, I have a place to live. I'm profiting every month. I'm okay. It's just in my nature. I want to help people, right? It's not like I grew up filthy rich and all that stuff. And I just wanted to help. I think that's just how I was raised, and I want to help a friend, or if I can give, I'll give. Maybe that's an endearing quality that I have. I don't know, but I learned. I was like, man, maybe one example I can think of somebody that didn't take advantage of that, or they, you know, they improved after that, right? But even then, that's like 1 out of 10 from my personal experience, right? So looking at it, you have not only the understanding that you as an individual will overextend and give, but at the same time, when we look at the other side of the equation, which is the people that you're being generous with and helping, a lot of this stuff comes down to their detriment as well. So it's an interesting subject that we need to talk about, because no one really looks at it from this perspective. It's just this social pressure that you should give, forgive people, and do this and give and do that. And it's like, what do you mean? I mean, look what's happening with the government and everything else. We'll bend over backwards. We put our own country in debt and in danger because of this stuff. It's crazy. And then people try to justify it. Or they'll appeal to your emotions. Oh, well, it's the humane thing to do and this and that. Well, where do we draw the line? Because if everything's going to be blurred and have a gray area, especially this subject, then again, what's the limit? What's too much and what's too little? You see, we refuse to define these things. And this is where emotion overrides logic and reason, which you see our world going more and more towards emotions and feelings and farther away from logic and reason, which has led us into this modern day woke culture that has just destroyed everything. And we're trending down in everything, in people's happiness, more people than ever are on meds. I mean, it's crazy out there when you just look at the average person and these statistics. It's nuts. It's not getting better. And part of it is we're too damn giving. And all I'm saying is we do not remove this, but that we put limits on it. Firm limits. Not only with the understanding that we cannot overextend ourselves, but the overextension and the overgenerosity of an individual comes to the other party's detriment. And that's what we need to understand. Because if your situation requires you to become resourceful to get better, but someone's always giving you a helping hand to where you'll be okay, and then they put you in a position where you don't have to become resourceful anymore, well, is that really to your benefit? I'm not talking about the person who's dying of thirst in the desert and they get that glass of water. I'm talking about the person who stays in the desert and never leaves because they keep getting a little bit of water and they know they're going to survive. That's what I'm referring to, which is what a lot of this turns into. I'm sure many of you have plenty of examples where you've been nice to somebody. And in a lot of cases, that generosity sours the relationship or ends it. Because I can think of a lot of those relationships and friendships that I had with those people where I really helped them out. After that moment of kicking them out or cutting it off, our relationship didn't get better. Our friendship didn't improve. It got worse in 9 out of those 10 cases. So I sit there scratching my head like, man, I have to take responsibility, because I was the one that was not only generous, but maybe too generous. And it put them in that position because I have to understand the other side. Of course, they would take that handout and help. It makes sense. It's an easy solution for them. They're not going to say, hey, I'm going to reject the help because I need to become resourceful and figure it out. Because you guys know, we insist, no, it's okay. Please take this gift. We'll help you. It's all right. Like my other buddy, again, I won't give a name. Hey, I want to move to Florida. He stayed with me again for a year. Didn't pay me a penny in rent or anything. Hey, I need $6,000 to move. Here you go. No questions asked. Looking back, probably shouldn't have done that. Probably should have agreed to have him pay me back and not make that a favor, or say, you know what, I'll give you half, or some sort of compromise. But I didn't. Hey, you want to stay here? You're working. You don't like your job, right? This is the same friend. Oh, you know what? You want to open up your business? Cool. I'm about to open up. This is back in 2022. I'm about to open up my second office space. Until I get it up and running, I'll even give you half that office space or more for you to use for your business. Did he ever open the business? No. He wasn't paying rent. He wouldn't have had to pay rent at the office space. I mean, talk about having it made. You fast forward later, he left Florida, went back, never opened the business, and the excuses piled up and nothing ever happened. Now, we're still cool. We're still cordial. We're still friends. It's not a problem. I wouldn't say it soured our relationship, but it didn't improve it. But to a degree, I lost respect for that individual. And I don't want to sit here and say I got personally taken advantage of, because these are all choices that I made and these are all choices that we make when we're generous. However, I know that I have a limit, and that's what I've learned over the years. But I know many people watching this and many people out in the world don't. They'll let a small favor then become more and more and more. Like people who just start giving people money and never stop and never question it and never even check to see that the money's being utilized properly. That this becomes a slippery slope. I at least had that checks and balances within me to say, okay, this is it and that's it. I'll let you stay with me for a definitive period of time. I'll give you this handout one time and that's it. There was limits to it. A lot of people turn it into a slippery slope. Why? The person gets used to it. But if you have the wrong individual in those positions, they begin to manipulate you and use your emotions against you. And we get farther and farther away from logic and reason, and it becomes an emotional game. They're manipulating you and taking advantage of you. That person who stayed with you originally, now you're giving them money, trying to get them a job and doing all these favors. And again, for what? We're making it too easy for them. It's occurring now. Even though you can give it to them, it's coming at their detriment. They're getting worse because of this. It's not like they're improving. And you need to take a cold, hard look at this with logic and reason. Because what are they going to try to do? They're going to try to appeal to your humanity. Oh, but you're helping them and this and that, and you don't understand, and everybody's situation is different, and all the nonsense that they start throwing at you. It's insane. Luckily, through sharpening my intellect, I've been able to stop all of that, and people know right away they can't manipulate me and send all that, garbage at me, that emotional just diarrhea that they say. Doesn't work. And this is a subject that I think a lot of people are scared to talk about. It's no different than when all this stuff came out in 2020 with the lockdowns and I spoke out against it. Oh man, people try to attack me from an emotion. You don't care, and where's your humanity? It's like, shut up, dude. I'm looking at the facts. I'm looking at the facts. I'm looking at the logic and reason behind this. I'm trying to make sure that things add up. I don't care about the emotional side because that's how they play you like a puppet. Same thing in these situations. People play your heartstrings like a puppet. If I can move you emotionally that easy, I can manipulate the hell out of you. And that's how the world, that's how marketing, that's how the corporations, that's how everybody's taking advantage of you. And the sad thing is this is so acceptable socially that it is what it is. Like think about how many times people have said, stop being insecure, or you're being mean, you're being an asshole. When in reality, you're not. Maybe you were setting a limit on this generosity that you had, and suddenly you're a jerk because you want to put a limit on it. More manipulation. But this is why you need to be careful, because some of us become so invested in this that we allow ourselves to be taken there. Now, again, luckily I've had those limits, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people have a giant heart. And maybe because of past experiences or rough memories, in their childhood or in the past or certain situations, they feel genuine compassion and empathy for people. And that heightened emotion gets recognized by the other person, and they pull on those heartstrings and they take advantage of them. You do not want that. Ask yourself in those moments, is this decision long-term a good thing for this person? Is this decision long-term? If I looked at it objectively and I take the emotion out, would I proceed with this? Would I actually want to do this? Or am I letting the heat of the moment get to me? And you'll start realizing very quickly that you would turn around, or at least take more serious consideration before you make some of these concessions or you talk to people about this type of stuff. Because I've lost count of how many people I know personally, talked to, got messages that their family, their friends, their spouse, people at their company are taking advantage of them, or they're just being too nice, picking up shifts for people who don't give a shit, right? Lending out money to people who will never pay it back, continuing to bail people out with money and favors who, again, won't even lift a finger to try to resolve the situation and always fall back on that person because they know they're going to say yes. That's taking advantage of you. Stop letting that happen. Now, I'm going to cut it here because I can make this video very long, but I'm not going to. But we need to understand that your generosity has to have limits. And although you can have a big heart, there has to be a limit to it. There has to be some logic and reason applied to this thing. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself any favors, but more importantly, you're not doing the other receiving party any favors. Because without realizing it, you're actually making it harder for them and making it worse. And you're not allowing them to grow or activate that resourcefulness that they need. But you'll be shamed in the modern era and even in the past for not being overly generous and this and that. Because just because you have the money or whatever doesn't mean you have to give it to anybody. It should be your choice. All right? See you on the next video.